Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Film Pundits. We are back this week to review another episode of The Strain, episode 6.
Yes.
I'm here joined with Eric Bratlian, of course, as always.
Hello, June. How are you?
What?
I don't know what reference that's from, but I just wanted to call you June.
So we're going to just start off by giving our initial thoughts on the episode, spoiler-free, and then we'll get into some spoilers after, and we'll let you guys know at what point you can jump to the end of the video to just give you a final wrap-up. So, with that being said, what were your overall thoughts on this episode?
I thought it was another pretty solid episode. We got some fun action. Found out. I mean, I don't know if we necessarily found out more about any people. I think the characters in the show found out more about other people, which is cool. So our characters, our main characters we've been following this whole time are starting to kind of put things together a little bit more and sort of see what's going on a little more. So that's cool. We see everything starting to take effect in the real world some more, which I always enjoy because it's no fun when only a handful of people know about it, especially when it's a big, crazy outbreak of demon monsters. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. What about you? What'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It had, just like Eric was saying, it had action. We learned a few more things about some of the characters. But overall, it's just now that's a snowball effect. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see more of the story, more of what's happening, how it's affecting the city, how it can potentially affect the city as a whole. And it's kind of turning into, it started off as this like horror thriller, and now I feel it's kind of going more into like Walking Dead territory, where we're starting to see more of how it is affecting more of the outside world. Mm-hmm. And the decisions that the characters have to make or scenarios that they're put in that they have to kind of like find a resolution for or they have to kind of deal with. But yeah, overall, it was a good episode. Really solid.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's everything to just kind of give an overall summary. Mm-hmm. So we're going to jump into spoilers. So as always, if you want to skip past the spoilers, just click on that Guardians poster. It'll take you to the end of the video.
Oh, yeah.
And just give you a final wrap up on what we thought. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, spoilers, please.
Here we go. So we open up on a nice little view of the planet Earth. We're like, hey, Earth, what's up? How's it going?
Kind of feel like a Heroes episode or something.
Sure. Never really watched that show, but I believe you. I believe that it's like that. I do. Don't cry. And we hear pretty much like one of those things you've seen in any movie where it's like, oh, little chatters of news, information, and blogosphere stuff going on.
Yeah, from all around the world.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's basically just establishing how the internet connection has been completely, or any sort of connection has been corrupted throughout the entire world.
Yeah, and it's just people talking about the craziness in the city right now and what's going on and how there's this eclipse that's coming today that is supposedly like a sign of the apocalypse and all this stuff. And so, as soon as you hear eclipse, you're like, oh, good. That's that's going to be terrible for all these people because, stuff's going to get real as soon as that sun disappears. Mm-hmm. Which I'm interested to know the rules of how the sunlight affects vampires because it's like it has to be direct sunlight, I guess, direct UV light on them because, I mean, sometimes they're in an area where they're being illuminated by sunlight.
Right.
But
they're
it's
not
like more burning.
Overcast.
It's only if it's like straight bam right on them, I guess, is how it affects them.
Yeah. That's at least what it seems like.
Yeah, that's how, at least in this world, that seems to be how it affects the vampires.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how we open. We open on that, and then we cut straight to our friendly German guy with a mostly naked man chained in a room.
Like a torture room.
Yeah, a nice little torture room with a little block in the middle where he can crank the guy so he can't move. And you're like, okay, what is this German guy into? Because, sometimes those German, they're freaky stuff. You don't know. You don't know what he's going to do to this gentleman. But no, we all know he's going to, suck his blood. Which, we see happen. and he's the guy begs to be killed and put out of his misery. And it's not necessarily completely 100% shown if he is killed at the end or not, but the German guy does say, "That is what I am doing. I'm killing you. Whatever. Blah blah blah." So, maybe he's dead. Maybe he's not dead. Guy in his underwear. That's what we take away from that scene.
Yeah.
And then we go to F's wife's house. The FBI is showing up there.
They're looking for Ephraim.
They're looking for Ephraim. Where's Ephraim at? Oh, he's right behind that car over there. Do you see him? I see him perfectly clear because he's standing looking right at us. That's the first thing that popped into my head is she just would be like, oh, looking at him like behind them, being like, go away or something like. Yeah, but whatever. So he's sitting there chilling behind some cars watching this whole thing go down. And then sneaks in through the back as the FBI agents are walking away going, oh, there's no way he'd be in there. Not with that guy. Not with the wife's new boyfriend. Oh, man. And
there he is.
Oh, what do you know? He sneaks in through the back
and
tries to warn his wife and child that they need to get the heck on out of there.
Which then she starts to accuse him, like, oh, are you just upset because of the custody hearing? Like, no, shit's going down.
Yeah.
You need to go.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get out.
Yeah, and I didn't understand, why nobody seems to believe this guy ever when he tells them stuff, and especially his wife and child. It's like, obviously he cares about both of you. Why would you not believe him when he tells you to get out of here? Until the boyfriend comes down and accuses him of being drunk, which I'm like, okay, I kind of understand that. He's been sober for what, like a year? What did he have when he went to that AA meeting? It's been a while.
If not longer, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand possibly if he's in some hot water. Okay, maybe that explains why he'd be drunk again, showing up, telling them these things. But it's like, okay, don't just, I don't know. It seems like the guy doesn't like him. That's why he jumped to that. Whatever. So then we realize, oh, boyfriend called the cops. They're the FBI to come right on back. They were like less than a minute away.
Stinky little son bitch.
Yeah, so back come the FBI agents to grab Ephraim and pull him on out of there. He leaves, trying to convince his wife, please, take him out of here. Believe me, leave. Which she doesn't listen to. Because why listen to the guy who knows what he's talking about diseases and stuff, Yeah, I don't believe doctors when they tell me things ever. I'm like, oh, that's what I have because you're a doctor? No, I'll just ignore you. So they bring him in for questioning. They have him in that little room. He tries to explain what's going on, and once again, nobody believes him.
He even gets backhanded at one point.
Yeah, a little backhand action. He had to show his show who was boss, with the back of his hand, that FBI agent. And Ephraim only manages to get his way out of there when he tells them, all right, you know what? I'll take you to where the bodies are being kept. I'll take you where they're being stashed, all right? I'll show you. Manages to convince them that he will take them there to get taken out of there. Maybe should we save the chaos later? Nah, we'll just talk about the whole thing. Whatever. Then on their way to wherever bodies he's taking them to. I mean, hopefully he's not taking them to that pilot's body because
I think he was probably taking them to the morgue, maybe.
Why? There's no bodies at the morgue.
Do they know that? Do the FBI agents know that?
Ephraim knows there's no bodies there. Why would he take them someplace?
Well, I think it was just like a diversion for him to try to escape, maybe at some point.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I took it more of a he's going to show them exactly what they're up against sort of thing.
Maybe,
which unintentionally he does. What do you know? They
because the guy from the morgue shows up.
The morgue curator or whatever they call the morgue guy.
It's not a librarian.
What they call like people in a whatever.
The morgue man.
Whatever. The morgue guy just starts walking down the street, goes up and starts attacking a woman.
That's the one thing in this episode that I noticed that was the only thing that kind of bugged me was everyone seems very oblivious to the fact that there's people walking around covered in blood who clearly physically look different than most people. They're pale. Yeah. They look like a hybrid of a zombie and a vampire.
But here's the thing. Have you ever been to New York? That could be the norm there. I don't know. I don't know what people look like in New York. But I totally agree with you, and that's one of the things that kind of keeps consistently bugging me about this show is just how stupid and oblivious these people really are, especially people in higher positions, the FBI, the police, the CDC, all these people that you should be able to trust and to know that they're like the ones that have your back seem to make the stupidest decisions, and that's the one thing that keeps bugging me about this show when I watch it, is the stupid decisions that people keep making. I mean, I still overall am enjoying the show, but it's just every time somebody makes a really terrible decision that is only there to drive the story further, it just really annoys me because I feel like it's kind of lazy when it comes to, script making and stuff. So then one FBI agent gets out, even though they both kind of decided, this isn't our problem. We're not going to worry about a guy trying to murder a girl. That's no big deal. We're not the FBI or anything. Doesn't make sense. They walk on out, and the first FBI agent just gets like immediately destroyed by this vampire monster, and then the second one just stands there the whole time and watches like, ooh, what's going on? Hey guys, I'm dead now too. Useless, totally useless. And then of course Ephraim manages to work his way out and grab the keys off the guy, and I would have seen him being a bit even more just straight up like, ha, sucker, you should listen to me, like. After all of the stuff that guy put him through, that's probably what I would have responded with instead of just, sorry, you should have listened to me or whatever, as he walks away and leaves him to die.
Which I'm glad they kept it that minimal. It was just like, hey, it's your bad. You didn't listen. You suffer the consequences.
Yeah. And that's all going on, of course, during that eclipse thing. So that's all happening. And then Ephraim manages to make his way to Abe's place where he meets up with Nora at the end. So that's where we're left with. That's Ephraim's story for this episode. We also catch up with the exterminator gentleman,
Vasiliy Fet.
Yes, and
who's Ukrainian, not Russian.
Okay, my bad.
Which I mean, they tell us in the episode.
Oh yeah. So we open on him. He's just sitting in a cafe, sketching little pictures of the little evil vampire guys. Talking to, I guess that's the hangout for all the exterminators. That's where they all like to go and high-five each other and talk about all the overtime they're getting because the rats are everywhere. So exterminator guy, do you know what his name is? What's his name?
Vasiliy.
All right, I'm going to remember that. That's silly. I'm just going to call him Silly. I like him. I like Silly. So Silly is like, hey, I really am going to call him that. Shows him this picture, like this is what they look like, and they... what were they asking him if it was? There was some like...
I don't remember exactly what they asked him.
They asked him if it was some creature, and he's like, no, it's this. And he shows them, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a creepy looking thing. And they're just like, hey, thank the creatures for all the overtime. Yeah. This is entertaining to us.
I'm curious what he did, if that's the place he went to right after that incident underground. If he's like, well, the first place I'm going to is a coffee shop so I can sketch these. Or if he went back to the office, but it doesn't seem like it based on what happens later on when we meet up with him.
Yeah, because right after that, he's back in the office.
Yeah, he's back in the office. He walks in and nobody's in there. So it's like, where have you been this whole time?
Yeah.
You were just attacked by... people who obviously weren't people, but you don't know that. Wouldn't you be a little more curious as to what the hell is happening?
Absolutely. But none of the characters in this freaking show are acting the way that a normal person would act. So I don't expect anybody to do anything anymore. So he works his way back to the office again, realizes, oh, nobody's here. Here's a funny little noise in the evidence lockup room or something. Or no, it must be the supply lockup room.
Supply room or something, yeah.
They don't work in anywhere with evidence. Evidence. Oh, this thing's chewed by a rat. This thing's chewed by a rat. A lot of pointless evidence. But yeah, so he goes in there, and what do you know? The light bulbs are broken again. I'm almost getting a little tired of the light bulbs being broken in every single dark room in this freaking show.
Yeah.
But... whatever. I guess that's the first thing the vampires do when they walk into a room is they just smash all the light bulbs with something. He walks in and gets to meet up with his boss first. Sees his boss is looking a little weird, with his mouth coming out of his mouth and all that.
Yeah.
And then manages to work his way over to a window. How did the windows get closed? How did that happen? If they're already a vampire, they're going into that room.
If it's a supply room, what do you really need the windows open for?
But why would they be closed to begin with?
The windows?
Yeah.
It's a supply room.
I guess.
Look at my windows. They're always closed.
To me, it just felt more like, okay, well, which vampire went in there first to close all the windows so the other vampires could go in? Do they do it at night before? How much time has passed? Whatever. I guess, I don't. It just was weird.
Way too much thought into that.
Why were the blinds closed?
Mine are always closed.
I guess.
It's pretty normal. I mean, it's a supply room.
Yeah, but it's. I guess if normally there are light bulbs in there, you don't need to have the windows open. But I guess it only makes sense. But yeah, whatever. So he walks in there, meets up with him, manages to work his way over to the window, pulls open the blinds, and we see this guy just shrivel and die and just turn into smoke and ashes essentially. Which was kind of cool to watch. The effects look pretty good.
That's the first time we've actually seen that effect play out all the way.
Yeah, instead of just them smoking a little bit.
Yeah,
which was kind of neat. So yeah, he sees that happen. Then boss man's dead, and then hears another person in the corner, and realizes, oh no, it's the receptionist girl,
Loretta. Rest in peace.
Oh yeah, poor Loretta. And then goes over there and realizes, oh no, she a vampire too. Got to open this window, sorry girl, and then opens it and she dead.
Which leads to my next question: where the hell is everyone else in that office?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, how many other people were there really?
I mean,
there's probably other exterminators, but they're probably out on the job.
Maybe.
I doubt they all hang out around there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, when we saw the exterminator office the last time when he was making jokes to her, did we see more than just the boss and her? I don't remember.
I thought we did.
Maybe
I thought
a handful of other people walking around or something.
Yeah, they probably just have other contractors that go in and out, so those might be like the only two people who are always in that office. But yeah.
Yeah. So then also after that, Silly goes back to his father's house, who he hasn't seen in 2 years, he said. And to warn him, come on, you got to get out of here. There's something big happening. And once again, nobody listens.
Yeah.
Essentially,
he's telling him that his job is rotting his brain.
Yeah,
essentially.
his father's hung up on the fact that he didn't go to, what was it, Princeton or something?
It was Columbia.
Columbia.
Yeah.
To get his education in architecture, and instead goes off and kills rats. And so all of a sudden, that just means that anything he knows is null and void. It just does not matter anymore because he catches rats for a living. So, yeah, should have listened to him. And I think that's about it. Do we see the exterminator again? I don't think we see him actually.
I don't think so. I think that's the last scene that we see him in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm waiting for the moment where he finally gets to kill somebody.
Yeah, he's run into a lot of these creatures.
He's run into the most, I would almost say. It would seem like almost.
He's run into the most in a way where he could be attacked or attack them. Other people have kind of run into them but run away, kind of. I don't know. I mean, Ephraim has probably run into more. Right. Ephraim and Nora and Abe, of course. But I mean, of all of the other secondary main characters, he's definitely run into the most. Yeah. So then I guess we should probably talk about... Oh, we kind of already talked about Ephraim's wife and kid not listening to him and staying behind.
Yeah, they end up staying behind, and they end up staying to watch the lunar eclipse, which, I mean, I guess.
And his wife's friend comes over who's all like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere, I'm from Jersey. Jersey girls don't leave and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going. And you should
I'm just going to stay here and die.
Yeah, I don't know. That whole conversation and the wife not listening, that all felt annoying to me. And I was just like, whatever.
It was one of those scenes that you just didn't need.
Yeah.
You could have had that conversation maybe with the boyfriend instead. Them trying to resolve their relationship, because at the end of the first time, or actually the end of the scene when Ephraim gets taken by the FBI, the ex-wife and the boyfriend are arguing, and she's telling him you're a guest in my family. You're here, but this is my house. This is my ex-husband's house. This is my son. This is my family. You're a guest here. So their relationship is
crumbling a little.
Yeah, it's starting to kind of hit that phase where she's on F's side, but she's also against him. So it's causing kind of a ripple in their relationship.
Yeah. And speaking of the ex-boyfriend, we might as well talk about what happens to him later on. He's at work, where he's like a security guard or something.
I don't know, yeah.
He's like something. And they're talking about what's going on outside when in comes a coworker bleeding at the neck. Talking about I was attacked by this person, by these guys, something, and so the new boyfriend walks out, sees these two cloaked, hooded figures, and starts yelling. Hey, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you hurt him? Did you do this? Hey, you guys don't. Hey, you guys.
And he starts walking toward them, to which I'm like, he's dead.
Yep. But then we cut away and don't find out what happens to him.
Which I'm sure we will next week.
Yeah. And if he is the only one to like actually kill these things and be effective, I'm going to be so upset because I really want this guy to just die. But
he's like the equivalent of the attorney for me.
Yeah.
He's your attorney.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, so that's all of our other main characters, our secondary characters. We also catch up with Gus, the Mexican gentleman, and we
know his name.
I wrote it down.
Cheater.
Even though they didn't say it in this episode, I remembered it from last time.
They said Gus.
Did they?
Yeah, he calls him Gus.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so we first see him. He's boxing some gentleman in a boxing ring with his buddy, chillin', being real effective again, just standing there. And in walks, was that the actual assistant to the German people? He didn't look like the same guy. It looked like a different guy.
Yeah,
the guy that came in to get him.
I thought it was the bodyguard.
Yeah.
Of what's his name? Aldrich.
The older gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it was the same person.
Oh, was it not?
I don't know. It might have been. Whoever it was walks in, flashes his piece. He's like, "Look, I got to insist. You come with me."
Yeah.
And then so Gus and his friend talk it out. He's like, "Hey, man, this is that old employer, but I'm not gonna be working for him anymore. So you come with me, and we're ending this today." And so they're brought to this tunnel underground, where Gus says very loudly to his friend, "Hey, man, you got your piece with you?" Like practically yells it. And then they walk around a corner like 2 feet later and meet up with the German guy, and it's like, there's no possible way he did not just hear what you said. Like
he probably just doesn't even care.
Yeah,
because the bullets can't hurt him anyway.
Yeah. So Gus starts talking to this guy, and he's like, "Look, we need you to help us with this. You broke the rules. You tried to open the box." He's like, "Yeah, but I didn't open the box. It doesn't matter. You broke the rules. You tried to open it. We told you not to open it, so you're still working for us. You're helping us to do this.
And here's your next job.
Yeah, you're gonna go and dispose of this body for us. That's in a storage container in a hospital."
Yeah.
Which, okay, if that body has been there the whole time, how did they not know to look there? They have tape of Ephraim dragging the body to someplace. How has Jim not just been like, "Look, here's where the body is," or Nora or Ephraim been like, "Look, here's where the body is. Go take a look. It's right in here." I mean, if enough time has passed where they're like hiring this guy to go get this body, has to go get the body, blah blah blah, whatever's happening, there should be enough time for somebody who knows where that body is to tell somebody and get Ephraim off the hook, which they never do, which is annoying. So that's his assignment, and Gus decides, "No, I'm not going to do this," and walks away, and then tells his buddy in Spanish, "Look, if he comes after us, you do something about it, all right?" And then he magically, the German gentleman just magically floats through the gate and comes after them. Gus turns around and punches him in the face, which knocks off some of his makeup, and we see that gray skin underneath. And Gus sort of gets a glimpse at what this person really is.
What are you?
Yeah, and then starts punching him in the gut.
I was hoping that he was going to turn around and say, "I'm Batman."
That would have been entertaining. So Gus just starts punching him in the gut, and essentially it's ineffective. And then he gets pinned up against a wall. While his buddy stands there, and is totally useless, like normal.
Yeah.
Until, German guy decides, grab that gun away from him, turn it on himself, and pull it out of his hands, and so tells Gus, "Look, you're going to get $800, and your mother won't be deported. That's what's going to happen." Which I'd like to know, since when is $800 a lot of money to dispose a body? Are you kidding me? 8,000 maybe. Okay,
yeah.
That's acceptable.
Which is still nothing.
I mean,
Peanuts.
I'm not saying $800 is not, I'm not saying that's no money. To dispose of a body, that's no money. I'm not taking $800 to go do this for you. But yeah, and it seems like $800 seems to be a very consistent amount in this show. Whoever wrote this show is really strapped for cash, and $800 is like the most amount of money they've ever heard of in their life. Like, oh my God, I would totally do any of these things for $800. No, you wouldn't. Things are expensive in New York. That barely will cover your rent for like half a week. But so then he goes out to do said deed. and finds out, oh, Jim is the one helping him out. He's going to be
the driver.
He's going to be his driver for today. Hi, this is your Lyft driver. His name is Jim.
He's a little shady and crooked, but he gets the job done.
We still can't decide which side he's on.
Yeah.
So Jim takes him to go get the body. And then they just show up at a river or some sort of body of water
or something
later. And the first thing that comes into my head is, you are all stupid. You're going to dump this body with these worms inside of it. Jim knows that that's what's in these bodies. And no, you're not. Don't dump it into a water source where they can get out and go and do whatever.
Well, I think once the host is killed, don't the worms leave the body? I think they leave the body because Abraham keeps telling him, he's like, hey, watch out for the worms. They'll try to come after a new host.
I mean, I guess, but I'm sure some of them are still in the body.
Maybe.
That was just, I don't know. If they're all out of the body, then they're all out of the body.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't help but think this is a stupid decision.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't, the Gus and his buddy don't know what's going on, but
Right.
Jim knows, there's
His
these
buddy
things.
opens the bag and tongues go
Yeah. And
fall
then they
out.
just, dump it in the
That's
water.
not human. No shit.
Yeah. And then Gus's buddy even says later, we should have burned that body, man. Right? And that's all I thought too was, why didn't you burn the body?
Yeah.
Jim knows, burn the body. You're supposed to burn the frickin' body. Burn it. That gets rid of it too. But no, they tossed it in water. Who knows what's going to happen with that? It's probably not going to be good. It's going to go through the water supply. More people are going to get infected. Great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, it moves the show forward. It's more about keeping the show going than making real world decisions and whatever. I'm of course looking at it as a person that doesn't want to turn into a vampire, but whatever. We got to keep the show going. It's entertaining. We see that happen, and after that, we catch up with Gus and his buddy again. They are out walking through the street as the eclipse is happening, and they are attacked by the morgue gentleman. After he's done munching down on a couple
you
of...
refer to everybody in the show as a gentleman.
Well, he is quite...
Even when they're vampires.
He's quite gentle with that giant mouth tongue.
This gentleman with his bloody hands...
He's so gentle.
...who tried to eat them...
Yeah.
...approached.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he comes on up to him, and even though he's been attacking and eating most people he runs into, he's like, oh, this Gus guy? Push him into a bunch of trash, and it's like, okay... why didn't you attack or try to eat him? You just push him out of the way and go for the other guy? I mean, I guess there's probably more blood in the other guy, but it's just like, what's going on? And once again, Gus's buddy, completely useless, just stands there like, oh, man, this guy's attacking me, man. Oh, geez. Help me. It's just like, oh,
to which Gus grabs a pipe and hits him over the head, and that's enough to knock him out, I guess.
Oh, my God. That guy is so useless. That's the worst bodyguard you could ever imagine
And then he gets
having.
wormed.
Yeah. He gets a couple little worms in his hand, tries to pull him out, and then the police show up just in time.
And arrest them.
Yeah,
Don't know why.
Well, of course you know why.
I mean, of course we know why.
Racism.
But
so a nice little commentary on Ferguson. What's going on over in Ferguson? No. It's just like, so, come on. Just in time, and that's the first. Of course, Gus says what we're all thinking of. Now you show up, and it's like that's exactly what I'm thinking too. Like a little too convenient,
right?
But yeah, I think that's about it that happens in this episode.
Yeah, the only other thing that really happens is we meet up with Nora and her mom, and they're in the apartment, and the FBI agents are now starting to come after people associated with Ephraim. So they're starting to come after Nora. So they escape her mom's apartment, and when they do, they start walking around the city to see what's happening, and Nora ends up going to a payphone, which payphones, they still have those in New York?
We have them here too.
Oh. Well, anyway, she
Payphones
goes to a phone book, and she finds the pawn shop for where Abraham is. So that's how, at the end of the episode, we end up with Nora and Abraham and Ephraim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which at first when she went up there, I was like, what is she grabbing out? And then when she showed up at the end, I was like, how did she get here? And then I pieced it together. I was like, oh, makes sense now. Yep, got it.
And then the one other scene is a pretty pivotal scene. We see Abraham go into the house.
Oh, I totally forgot about that one.
Yeah,
I have that in here.
That's the pilot's house, right?
No, it was a new person house.
Oh, new person we've never met before.
Correct. Yeah, it was just another passenger on the plane.
Yeah.
He walks in and they're having the funeral for him, essentially. Everything's
and there's
left.
like all food and drinks, so everything is just kind of like left untouched in the house. And then he starts to kind of look around and see what's happening. Obviously, there's nobody in the house, so he goes into the basement.
Mm-hmm. Where there's blood all over the walls.
There's blood over the walls. No lights, because everyone likes to break lights in this show.
But there's always just enough little bits of light.
Yeah.
To where people don't grab a flashlight.
Exactly. So he goes down there. He sees a group, or what looks like a group of vampires huddled together, and then out of another corner comes another vampire. So he starts shooting him with the silver bullet nail gun.
Yeah.
And then cuts their heads off, and then he starts
just one. He only gets that one.
He only gets one, yeah.
Actually, he doesn't even... Oh, no, he does cut that one's head off. Yeah.
One of the heads off. And then while this is happening, you hear this heartbeat, like, starting to increase. Like, he's starting to get sick and get nauseous.
Have a heart attack or something.
Have a heart attack, because, I mean, he's old. He's old.
A little bit.
He starts to try to get us medication, and he's stumbling. He can't get it.
He drops it on the floor.
He drops on the floor. These vampires are... I always want to say zombies. These vampires start attacking him. He starts shooting them with the nail gun, and he's able to hold himself together and get himself out of the house, closes the door, because there's sunlight coming through. So as soon as they, interact with the sunlight, they're going to get burned or shriveled up. Yeah. So he goes in the kitchen, grabs a candle, puts on top of the stove, ignites the gas, and walks away. And they do mention later on, they're like, oh, there was a house explosion on this and this street.
Oh, did they?
They did.
Okay, I didn't catch that.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what scene it was, but they do address it at some point. Actually, I think Vasiliy mentions it when he goes back into the office.
Oh, okay.
He mentions that there was a house that, like, a fire.
Oh.
But, yeah, but that's really the big scene we have with Ephraim.
Yeah. And then he gets in that taxi driver's car and asks the guy, hey, you want to help me fix all this?
Yeah, and the guy's like, don't die in my cab, please. You're old, don't die. Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that the cab driver would be like, sure, I'll help you out. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's going to become like the most badass character in this show.
He tries to be all like wise, like, do you want to help me fix this problem? Yeah, and he's like taking like the longest cab ride ever back to Harlem or wherever he is. But I think that's
all our main stuff that
pretty
happens.
much all the main scenes that happen in the show. I'm not really sure how I feel about Nora's mother. I mean, I know she's in there. She's probably going to end up being a character who either dies or gets turned into a vampire. Yeah. But I feel like the character is such an inconvenience to the story right now because Nora is... All her scenes are exposition. She has to explain everything. And it's... I don't know. It just feels so dragged out. I just want them to regroup, be together, go after the vampires, and just go.
And we had that scene where she was talking to her mother, like, "Oh, like this has all happened," and she's like, "Oh, I don't even remember." And then she says, "I wish I could forget like you." Yeah. And like she had that little thing, so it's like, okay, now we know that there's definitely some sort of dementia, Alzheimer's going on with her mother. We know that for sure. And yeah, she sort of just seems like she's holding her back, but I'm sure that's probably not going to last for very long.
Right. So I think like big cliffhangers. We don't know. We kind of don't really know what's next for Vasiliy. We're gonna see what's gonna happen with this team up now with Ephraim, and Nora. Yeah. Jim. We don't know what's gonna happen with him.
We still don't know if he's good or bad.
Yeah.
Which is annoying.
Yeah, exactly. And now, like, what's gonna happen now? These FBI agents are dead. Is Ephraim gonna get blamed for their murder? Or are people
by now
unraveling what the hell's happening?
These vampires were running through the street in pretty much broad daylight. Yeah. So somebody's got to come on. And if it's still like, oh, we don't know what's going on at this point, that's right. I'm calling BS.
Yeah, and we're only 6 episodes in, so I don't know how long the season is going to run. And the show, obviously, it's already been renewed for a second season, so. I feel like whatever's happening is happening pretty early. Yeah. So whatever is going to be happening in the latter part of the season, it's going to be pretty big, I feel like.
Probably,
if all this stuff is already being exposed, which I didn't think was going to happen. I thought it was going to be a very underground thing for a big part of the season, but it's already starting to come to the surface, so I don't know. But, yeah, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
So if we're just going to wrap up and give you our final thoughts. So, Eric, go for it. Final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts were, everything's picking up. It's nice. We're getting to some crazy stuff, and it's definitely... Once again, opening up all sorts more possibilities for the show and what can happen and who's going to find out what and like I'm hoping the general population starts finding out what's going on because it seems like that's sort of what it's headed towards. Our main characters are sort of starting to get into their final form. I don't know, final form. That sounds stupid, but
they're starting to become the heroes.
Yeah, they're going Super Saiyan. They're finally figuring everything out and getting their stuff together and realizing what they have to do in this world to fix what's going on. Yeah, which is nice. We're catching up with some of our side characters, finding out a little bit more about them. And so, yeah, I mean, overall, it was a good episode where we got to catch up with some of our favorite characters, sort of, that are doing some interesting things. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in these next few episodes. 'Cause stuff's starting to get real.
It is. Yeah, no, it was good. We get to meet up and kind of touch base with all the characters that matter. All the elements are slowly starting to continue to fall into place. Less exposition, I feel like, even though there are some scenes that you don't really need. Mm-hmm. But it's all for the sake of story.
Yeah.
But overall, really good episode. Like I was saying, the show is renewed for a second season, so we're obviously in this for the long haul. This is going to be something that's going to continue to develop. We'll see how much of the book it'll eventually follow. But yeah, good episode. So if you guys just make sure you leave your comments below so we can get some feedback and let us know what you thought of the episode. Because we can talk about it all day.
Yeah.
But I'd rather we have an open discussion and have other people talk about what they like, what they didn't like about this episode or any other previous episode that we've reviewed, and what you kind of like about the series so far.
Also, if you want to let us know how you feel about our review, if you'd like us to shorten it down, if you want this whole talk of
full
like
breakdown.
Yeah, if you like the full breakdown of what's happening, or if you prefer just overall points, what happens, the big stuff, which I feel like we kind of stick to. We don't talk too much about other stuff other than important things. But yeah, just let us know how you feel about how we're reviewing it, as well as how you feel about the show.
Yeah, that's about it for this episode of The Strain. But before we go, Eric, where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me on Twitter at thanksfortheview with a number 4 in the middle.
And you can find me on all social media under Adam Hlavik. Connect with us, guys. Let's talk. Let's talk about the show. Let's talk about anything that you guys want to talk about regarding to this show or anything else that's on our Film Pundits channel.
Yeah.
We want this to be a very interactive channel. The more people we interact with, the better the community will be, and the more interesting stuff we'll have to talk about. So
bring the conversation.
Yes, bring
it
it to us. We want to chit chat.
Make us feel like real people, okay? Talk to us.
And if you want to follow all of our Film Pundit stuff, we're on youtube.com/thefilmpundits. Like I mentioned, facebook.com/thefilmpundits. YouTube is at the Film Pundits. And also Instagram at the Film Pundits.
That's a lot of things.
A lot of things under the Film Pundits. And if you want to catch The Strain, it's always Sundays at 10 o'clock on FX. And until next time, we'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye-bye.